So get back home on the Friday evening after work, spend Saturday packing, Sunday drive down to Exeter and start my new life. Simple as that. Woke up Monday morning and off I went to lessons. It's like being back at school, meeting new people, completely different environment to what I was used to, and it was all kind of exciting and nervous at the same time. But, you know, something had to change, and this was it. Obviously, I knew what to expect in some ways because I'd been down for an assessment. So I knew where the buildings were, what classrooms I'd be in, where I was staying. So it wasn't completely unfamiliar territory. Started making friends, of course, and, you know, you'd find people you had stuff in common with, some you didn't. And I started putting in place my sort of plan of action for the year, if you like. The idea was to live away from home for a year, to get qualifications, to be able to go back home at the end of the year with qualifications, get a decent job, and move out and find somewhere to live. And on top of that, I wanted really to sort of fix myself in a way, is probably the best way I'd describe it. Obviously, the accident and in the year after had taken quite a toll on my body. And I hadn't necessarily recovered particularly well, or rather I'd let myself go a bit. So yes, I'd put on weight. When I had my accident, I was 10 stone. By the time I came to college, I was about 11 and a half. And when you think your left arm's just dead weight, that's quite a lot more weight of non-muscle, shall we say. So I was aware that I was unfit and needed to do something about it. So part of coming down to Exeter was to get fit again. And I wasn't going to do anything drastic. I didn't want to join a gym or anything like that, but just, you know, eat better, more exercise. That should fix it. Well, I got off to a flying start with that because within about 3 days, I was ill. Like, really ill. I was in bed for about 4 days with a raging temperature. Every day I'd have my temperature taken, and it was like, I go and have a cold shower. And it's like, yeah, all right. And I felt so ill, it was ridiculous. But that did help to start with the weight loss, shall we say. Now, you've got to remember, this is 1992. So, entertainment on your own. Yeah. No internet, no mobile phones, very little computers. So, I brought down quite a few books and quite a lot of music, and also wrote letters. Who remembers doing that? So before I'd gone away, I'd asked all my friends, can you please write to me because I need some sanity. And so this was also part of the new new routine. Reading books, listening to music, and writing letters. Now, there's very little material, photographic material, of St. Loye's at all online that I can find. I managed to find a few pictures, and I do amazingly have partial pictures of my room. So it's the view from my bed. Those of you of a nervous disposition of what men, boys, teenagers, guys were like in the late 80s, early 90s might wish to look away now. As I make no apologies, you know, I was a young man on my own, so I had to have a few pictures up. But as you can see in the pictures, yes, the cleaners obviously knew my room, didn't they? Anyway, apart from the pictures that you can see there's a little cupboard where you could stick your clothes, and then next to that there was kind of like, it was a workbench basin combo with a chair. So on there you can see I've got my little ghetto blaster, which I've still got today, and there's my clock from home, and a mini TV set which actually belonged to James. And that's kind of all I had. That was the source of my entertainment. There was a bed, but that was about it. That's what your room was. I mean, you know, what more do you need? You know, there was no toilet, no bathroom, all communal. So that was entertaining as well. I told you it's like being back at school. And so you get used to this quite quickly, and it's like, this is my new life. But, you know, it wasn't all bad at all. I mean, the place was very clean, very tidy, very nice staff. If you had a problem, go and see someone and it'd be sorted. So that was great. The work, for me, the electronics work that I was being taught wasn't really anything new. So for me, quite a lot of it was, I won't say easy, but it wasn't difficult. I was there really to get qualifications. Obviously I did learn new stuff, like everyone, but there were people there never done electronics before in their life, so I actually ended up helping out quite often with people's projects. And people from all sorts of backgrounds. I made quite a good friend with a bloke called Joe, and he was an ex-truck driver. There was quite a variety of people in general. There were people in wheelchairs, and there would be people with, you know, gammy arm or whatever. Of course, you don't know, you know, you don't go around, oh, what's wrong with you? So I presume there was mental issues as well, but, you know, you don't go prying into people's business, do you? And even when I came down for my assessment, I was in the next room to a young lad, 25 I think he was, and he was a chef, and he was here to be assessed, I think, for electronics as well. Heart attack, stress of the job. So he'd been advised to give up being a chef and try something else. So it was quite a variety. I was returning home, well, should I say, returning to my mum and dad's every other weekend, obviously to drop off lots of laundry. But I wasn't quite that bad. Me says fibbing. Anyway, but the other weekend you stayed down in Devon, so it was okay. Well, in February you don't really want to go out much, so you sit, you know, read a book, listen to a bit of music, write a letter, like I was saying, you know, 1992. But you know, all of a sudden spring arrives, and it's like, ooh, I go out for the day. So for probably about the next 3 or 4 months, every other weekend I would be out exploring Devon. So I would go down the coast to Dartmouth or go to Totnes, Tavistock, even went up onto the north coast. So yeah, I just sort of literally got the map out and boom, put a pin in and there, right, I'm going there for the day. It was good because it was out of season as well. So you got to see the sights of Devon without millions of tourists shoving you off the road. But I really did enjoy this period. It was a very good period for me mentally. You know, it was very stable. There wasn't really any emotional roller coasters or disasters. I got into a routine of college, exploring Devon, going to physio because that had all been set up. It was a very good period of what's the word I'm looking for? getting self-centered, and my mild exercise and looking after myself was paying dividends. The weight was coming off. So much so that the whole left arm, that's where the weight came off first. And it went from being similar size to your right arm to being very skinny. Now this, although it didn't look great, but then again, you know, your arm's all wonky anyway, so what does it matter? But losing all that weight, fantastic. All of a sudden, your left arm doesn't weigh half as much. All it is a bunch of bones and some skin, and that's it. And that really took the pressure off my shoulder, and I was much happier. Probably but the best thing that could have happened to me, really. You know, still got a wonky looking arm, but guess what? I threw my sling away. Yes, I never needed it again. Fantastic. It was like, yes, all right, I'm not normal, but if I want to, I can put a jacket on, stick my hand into the pocket, and I can pretend I'm normal. Well, normal-ish. And yeah, that was a bit of a revelation, really. And losing this weight, also, after the accident and for a very long time, up until this point, really didn't like looking at myself in the mirror at all. But now, I thought, well, not bad. That's about the best I'll say. Not bad. It's acceptable. It's taken really a year and a half to get there. So let's call it, for example, it was April. But yeah, it took about a year and a half for me to accept what I looked like and how I felt and be happy about it. Also, doing the physio at this point, my upper left arm was getting a lot better and a lot stronger as the nerve grafts grew back. We're not talking like, you know, major strength, but, you know, the physio at hospital would say, right, well, get a pillow out and put it on a table, and you put your arm on the table, and then you remove this and do that. And yeah, I could. So the physiotherapy, while it was beneficial to building up what was left of my arm, or rebuilding what was left of it, you know, day-to-day life, it didn't really make much difference. The only thing you could possibly do was you could lift your arm out, you could stick something under there and you could hold it there. But even that was kind of in the future. Really, it was trying to build what was there to see if you get anything back. I mean, realistically, I assumed I was never really going to get anything useful back. What it is what it is. I mean, you know. But I kind of still thought about it in those days as it's a left arm. And really, that's the wrong way to look at it. Think of it more as it could be something like a useful tool at some point in the future. And that's a better way to approach it. If you think, oh, it's a left arm that doesn't work, then it's always going to be a left arm that doesn't work. If you say it's something I can use to do things, and then it's just your imagination for you to try stuff. But I didn't really realise that at the time, so to me it was still just the left arm that didn't work. So I was still going home every other weekend, like I said, drop my laundry off. I would still visit my old mates. So Nick, who's been in a few of the other videos and probably will be in some of the future ones, he'd got himself a nice new project. He was building a GT40. So I would go around there on Friday or a Saturday night when I got back, and we'd have a few beers and go and look in the garage, and as you do, boys will be boys. The other thing, of course, was still going to gigs. So I went with my mate Dean, and we would still drive off to Milton Keynes for a Saturday night gig or wherever. And life was still fairly normal. And on the weekends that I didn't go home, there was a payphone at the bottom of the stairs in the block that I lived in, and I would phone home on a Sunday about 6 o'clock, talk to my mum and dad, and just let them know I'm still alive, because obviously you didn't do any texting in those days. Now, around about April, so what were we on? February, March, April. Yeah, about April. I was kind of feeling quite content with myself, and quite happy with my new routine, and life was pretty good, really. Probably for the first time since the accident. So the first time in a year and a half, I was in a good place. So I thought, maybe it'd be nice to try and meet somebody or make some new friends of the female variety, because the college was very male orientated. Like 200 blokes to 10 women, I think. Something like that. It really was very male orientated. Now, whether this is because the workforce that was injured or disabled back then was mainly male, I don't know. I don't think it was anything gender specific like that. I do think back then the workforce was mainly men, and the ones that would be no, that's not quite right. A lot of the injury, a lot of the disabilities is physical. So the physical workforce back then was probably very heavily male. So that's why there tend to be quite a lot of blokes there. That's my guess. But anyway, so yeah, I thought, it'd be nice to try and find somebody. So I didn't necessarily want to find somebody. It'd be nice just to have conversations, or letters, or something like that. So I put an ad in the back of Kerrang magazine. Basically, I can't remember the ad now. I would probably put something like looking for a pen pal, because it's pre-internet. Maybe something more, please write. And yes, I actually did get a few letters. And one of which I thought, she's quite nice. Quite a long way away. So she lived in Berkhamsted, which is out near Hemel. So that was quite a long distance. But anyway, she wrote a nice letter, and so she looked quite nice in the picture. And so I wrote back, and we exchanged a few letters. And so we corresponded for a couple of months. June comes along, and it's birthday time, and I'm gone back home. By this point, I'm really quite slim. I lost about 2 stone. So I'm down to about 9.5 stone, and got a lot of blonde curly hair. So and with my arm, I'm quite a striking figure these days, which of course I've quite enjoyed, shall we say. Well, it was better than a year ago when basically I'd just been made redundant. I'd written to this lady and said, it's my birthday, I'm going to be home. Conversation. She goes, well, I've got the weekend free. Why don't we meet up for a drink and a chat? So that's what we did. And, there's me thinking, quite striking, shall we say, at that point. And then so I'm sort of, sat waiting, and this woman walks in. I go, crikey, is that her? And if I thought I looked striking, she was wearing black cycle shorts and a black t-shirt, and looking Yes, I thought, goodness me, or words to that effect. She's very nice. So luckily, we both thought each other was very nice. But, we were realistic. She had her own not problematic, her own difficulties in life. And obviously, so did I, because I was down in Exeter and she was like, God, another hour in the wrong direction. So we didn't, make any plans or anything like that. We sort of said, we had a nice time and we said, oh, we'll write. Or, don't think we phoned, I think we just said we'd write. But it was a bit of an eye opener, shall we say. So uh, went back home to Exeter because that's my home now, thinking, very nice. Getting back to why you're here in the first place, i.e., this. A few other interesting. Well, it happens to all of us, I think, with the injury. Hypersensitivity. This was now well and truly established, along with the remapping in your brain. That happened as well. So, for example, if I. Hang on, I'll just do it like that. So if I do that there. Oh, I'm touching my hand. Yeah, that's all hand there. And if I brush it very lightly, it's really hypersensitive. And it's like somebody going brushing your hand with electrical cable, with electricity. So, not very pleasant. And this was quite a problem in this hypersensitivity and remapping in the early days. So also like here, oh yeah, that's it's my index finger. Yeah. And it's my wrist. So yeah, it's kind of like my hand's gone across there type of thing. And the real time that sort of pain and stuff would be a bit of an issue would be in the evenings, obviously, because like all pain, if you're not doing anything, it comes to the foreground and can be a right problem. But yeah, and then you'd have other bits here where there's absolutely nothing. No, you could just go bonk with a hammer and nothing happens. So the whole sort of system remapped itself. From what I understand, it's dormant sections of the brain getting invaded by the next door neighbours, which is why your hand ends up getting mapped somewhere else. I mean, you even had it on my leg at one point. What I would say, the remapping tends to go away a bit. It's still there in some places, but it's not there as much. A hypersensitivity, that's never gone. That's always been there now. And yeah, again, you get used to it. So by about mid-July, this lady and I decided we liked each other so much we're going to start seeing each other. Very impractical, but we just didn't care. It was just like, you know what, you only live once, so make the most of it. So my weekends, I'd still have the weekend in Devon, go out with my mates that I had in Devon. For example, we went to Speedway one evening, and that was great. I'd never been. It was great fun to get out, or do the cinema, or whatever. And I'd still be off exploring the Devon countryside. The other weekend, I'd be bombing back to Oxford in the poor old Granada, which was getting pounded up and down the motorway. Spend the Friday night with mum and dad, drop the washing off, and then Saturday go and see my girlfriend, which was yet another hour further away from Exeter. But I didn't care. I was deliriously happy, and I think she was as well. And still, kept in contact with mates. One friend came over from Wales one weekend, and we went out for the day and that was fun. Now, one advantage or disadvantage about basically living at college for a year was you're a bit sort of cut off from the real world. Now, come I think about October time, it was a case of you need to start thinking about looking for a job. And I thought, yeah, that's a good point, isn't it? Because, you know, I'm too busy enjoying myself, basically being 18 again kind of thing. So started applying for jobs. Now, this was a bit of a reality check, shall we say. As previous videos, the UK was kind of coming out of recession at this point. But, you know, jobs were still scarce. It was still pretty tough. I applied for lots. Most got rejected. Did get a few come back to go to interviews. So one was over near Aylesbury, and it was basically an electronic sales rep. Good pay, company car, not factory work. I did well in the interview. The bloke interviewing me said, "Oh, excellent guy, you do it." Basically, I ticked all the boxes. And he said, got one other candidate to see, and then the boss will make a decision, and we'll get back to you. Well, after a few days, didn't hear anything, so I phoned him up, and he goes, yeah, sorry about this, Conrad, but you were the better candidate, but because of your disability, you have to drive an automatic car, and that will cost the company £10 a month more. Really? £10 a month. That was the difference. So, discrimination again. Lovely. The other one, the other interview that I do remember, it was even better. Now, this was at GCHQ over at Cheltenham. And I thought, this would be exciting. Fancy this. And I went in to interview, got halfway through the interview process. And the bloke said, "Have you ever been abroad?" And I go, yes. Been to France, Switzerland, and America. And he goes, "Oh, yeah, anywhere else?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, but when I was 2, I went to Russia." Russia? Well, yeah, my mum and dad took me there when I was 2. And India as well. Well, to be quite honest with you, the background check's going to take 6 months. So we might as well stop the interview now. So, yep. Apparently if you've been to Russia when you're 2 years old, there was a chance you were an agent. Who knew? Despite the setbacks of job applications, I kept applying, but didn't really have any luck. I wasn't, giving up or anything like that, but it was kind of a bit disappointing. Now, I can't remember whether we sat our exams before Christmas or after Christmas. That was the reason I'd gone there, to get my sitting guilds. And yeah, passed. So I was very happy. And the last sort of month really was kind of fairly quiet. You could do your own projects, applying for jobs, that sort of thing. I spent Christmas with my girlfriend, which was nice. I do want to say a few words about St. Loye's College. It is no more. I find it quite sad that an institution that helped thousands and thousands and thousands of people and employed hundreds of people is gone. It kind of lives on inside another charity, but building and all those services it provided for people, gone. I think I'm probably not the only one. If you're an ex-student Should we call it that? You probably feel the same. And I know the world's moved on, and we live in a different world, and we're all supposed to be integrated, but don't think it's any better, do you? No. So getting towards the end of January, 1 year later, and what I hoped would happen kind of hasn't. I'm not walking into a new job. I'm not walking into somewhere new to live. So I'm going to be moving back home to my mum and dad's. Work I wasn't quite so worried about. When I was coming back in January, I signed up for a lot of agency work. And with the City and Guilds qualifications, they said you'll have no problems getting a job. So that wasn't all bad. There were a few positive things. I was positive now. It had been a good experience being at the college, and I was in a much happier place, much more focused, probably more focused now than I had been before my accident, to be quite honest. I kind of knew, right, what am I aiming for in life, and had a mental list, and that had been very good. And I had a girlfriend. We'd been seeing each other about 6 months, and no sign of any burnout or getting fed up. If you followed it this far, you can have a gold star for effort. The next video, you can see what happens and really how life, instead of, before accident, accident, and college, got to about the same point before, if not slightly higher. What happens next is like that. Quite a transformation. So tune in.